As you guys know, I was district attorney for over 9 years, and I really focused heavily on protecting victims in our community, protecting the safety of our residents, and really being tough on those who are plaguing our communities with drugs, guns, violence. But also being fair to those who need a second chance, that looking at cases individually and deciding what the best next step is for those individuals themselves. And so I really had a passion for public service and giving back to the community. And when a seat opened up on the judiciary, I decided to throw my hat in the ring. I wanted to give back and continue to give back to the community. I want to, and people know me as being tough but fair, and as district attorney, I really cared about being a part of that service, and I am excited to continue campaigning for judge and look forward to continuing to talk to people about my experiences, my passions, and what I will do as, if I'm elected, I should say, as one of the next Luzerne County judges on the Court of Common Pleas.
Just kind of following up on how you opened, 9 years as DA.
Yes.
And I know that you've had some police endorsements, at least in the primary.
Yes.
State police, some others. And it's very common for someone from DA to run for judge and talk about law and order, etc.
Right.
But it raises the question of someone who has been on the prosecution side for many, many years. And I know you won't be starting out in criminal law, but
right.
you probably will be at some point. Does it compromise your appearance of impartiality when you talk about being a prosecutor, and does it skew what you might do in court?
I actually think that my time as district attorney is an example of the type of person I am and what I will be as a judge. For law enforcement, they knew if they were coming to me and asking questions, asking for a decision to be made on a case, whether it is evidentiary decisions, charging decisions, they knew that I would always be fair to every individual involved. And so the community has seen that. They are able to see the experiences that I've had, and they are able to learn from what I have done in the past to make their decision as to whether or not I can be impartial as a judge. And I will say to everyone here and to the community, I promise to always be impartial and fair to anybody who comes in front of me. That is a promise that I will always make, because that is what you need to be as a judge. You need to be fair. You need to make decisions that are based on the law itself and not let anybody else influence you. And I think that decisions that I've made in the district attorney's office have showed that. That I have made decisions on cases that may have not been popular decisions, but I did it because that's what the evidence and that's what the facts led me to make.
Let's talk about one of those decisions, because I know it comes up even on your own Facebook page from, I guess, some voters, on the Mackey case, and whether or not you should have referred that case from the beginning to some outside agency, given that it was happened in the county prison. Can you walk us through your decision-making process on Mackey, and do you have any second thoughts about how it was handled?
No, I will start by saying I do not second guess the decisions that I've made in that case. What I did in that case was I looked at the facts and I looked at the evidence and I made my decision based on that. And again, going back to what I said earlier, I did not let any outside influence pressure me into making a decision that was not based on the facts and evidence and the law that I am bound to follow as district attorney. A lot of people ask, well, why didn't I refer this case out from the beginning? All cases in the prison are investigated by the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office. This was no exception. If people have an idea that I somehow have some oversight over the prison, that I have some authority over the prison, I am a completely separate division in the county. So I have no I'm trying to think of the word, I'm not connected in any way to the prison to make a biased decision when it came to possibly, as people want to say, protecting the corrections officers. That is not what I did. I, as district attorney, again, I made the decision based on the facts and the evidence presented to me, including witnesses that were there and saw what occurred, and made the decision from there. And and this may be a follow-up, I do want to say people have asked about referring it out after. I think it was a year later after I made the decision that this came up again about referring it to the Attorney General's office. And I made it a point to say to everyone, if the Attorney General's office wants to come in and review my case file and decide if there could have been something else that could have been done, I was open to it. I offered that to the Attorney General's office. I also referred it out to be reviewed by the federal authorities. And they did not find, I'm assuming they didn't find a different opinion than mine, because they never did anything with it. They just referred it back and said, the case review is closed. So I did everything that I thought would be appropriate for the community to feel that I was being transparent, that I made the decision based on the facts and the evidence presented.
Anybody else have anything?
As a judge, how many people do you get to hire to be part of your staff, and how are you going to go about hiring those people?
I believe as judge you have, if you would call it an office manager, a clerk, and I believe there's another support staff that you are able to hire. So I think total 3.
Tip staff?
Yeah, they call it a tip staff. So I think 3. I have been asked by different people if I would be looking at full-time, part-time. All of my staff will all be full-time individuals that will work for the county, for the state, and I will be posting it and looking for anybody who would be interested. And based on the area that I would be placed in, at this point I've been told family court is where I will be starting. So I would be looking for people that have extensive experience when it comes to family matters, child custody, divorce, terminations, adoptions, things of that matter. So I will be looking for that experience when it comes to hiring individuals.
Do you have any priorities or things, have you seen any kind of areas for improvement over there on the family court side? Something you'd like to tackle if you get elected?
Well, I don't want to say that it's improvement, but I want to say that I'm excited, hopefully, to be one of the next judges elected. Excited to jump in and help alleviate some of the cases that are sort of lingering, that are backlogged in the system, because we need more judges that are focused on family court. And I think it's very important, at least in my eyes, because this affects people. This affects people's homes, their children, their lives. And I think we should be, we should have a strong judicial administration that looks at this and makes decisions and keeps cases going as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Just to ask some more about family court, I mean, as a family court person, I assume you will be dealing a lot with children and youth,
Yes.
which has been embroiled in some controversies lately. The director is forced to resign, or at least resign. There are people who have been suspended.
Right.
Allegations that cases were not followed up on. How active is the court in supervising what children and youth does? And do you see needs for changes there?
Well, I don't know the intricacies of what happens in children and youth, and I don't know how involved the courts will be in the operations of children and youth, but I will say that if I see anything that is improper or any type of injustices that may occur in cases, I will be one that makes sure that they are corrected and make sure that we as a court work to make it better for our community and our families. So that is what I foresee. That's the involvement that I think that as a judge that I will be able to offer in improving the system.
there were some problems in the primary about the ballot on the Republican side. I guess it was mislabeled. Do you think that affected the primary results in any way? And do you have any ongoing concerns with how the county conducts elections?
I don't believe that there were any issues with the election during the primary. I think that there may have been some confusions, I think, with the wording of certain things. And I know that certain people have told me that they were unable to vote for certain people. I don't have firsthand knowledge of it. I just had people coming to me and telling me that there were issues, but those issues were being addressed, and I was being told and informed throughout the process that they were being addressed in a timely manner. So I didn't believe that there were any significant issues when it came to the primary, and I'm hoping the same for the general election. I did see that the head of our election bureau has just resigned, so I'm sure that we have strong individuals that are running our county that know that this is an important election coming up, and we need to do everything possible to protect the integrity of the election.
Stay on the election for a little bit. Back in last November, when there was an investigation into some discarded ballots
Yes.
at the election bureau, that was a case you did refer.
Yes.
So what made that case different from the prison case? Because obviously your office probably has less relationship, probably deals more with people from the prison than it deals with people who are in the election bureau. So what was the difference between those two cases?
The difference is that we were dealing with a presidential election, which was which the federal government already created an election integrity unit. So they reached out and said if there were any issues at all that may come up, that they would like to get involved in it. And at the time, one of the reasons you refer a case out is the lack of resources. At the time, I didn't know how in-depth this investigation was going to be. Our county detectives have more than just an election case that they'd have to be involved in. We handle a lot of the major cases in the county. So my concern at that time was that this would take away from what our detectives should have been working on. And again, going back to that there were experienced people in the federal authorities that were conducting these types of investigations, not just in Luzerne County, not just in Pennsylvania, but nationally. So I felt that it was appropriate to actually, in the beginning, to actually discuss it with them. It wasn't a right off the bat referral, and then at that time, after a discussion, figuring out that it may be bigger than what we expected, that's when I said, you know what, I think this should be referred out. But our office did continue to assist them on that investigation.
One of the things that was surprising, maybe more to people in newsrooms than anywhere else, was the way that investigation was revealed. Very often investigations happen and the public has no idea, the media has no idea. But you put out a statement pretty quickly that you had referred this case to the DA, to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which then confirmed this investigation, which is extremely rare for a federal case. How were those decisions made as to reveal the existence of this investigation?
Well, the reason why at the time that I made the statement is because I was receiving calls from the media, national media, that this investigation was taking place. I don't know how they knew about it, but it was already in the hands of the media. So what I did was I put out a very simple statement saying that we have been in contact with the county, and they informed us of the discovery of these ballots, and that we have referred the case out to federal authorities. There was nothing more that was stated. I don't believe. It was very simple. I didn't want to give too much information out, but that this discovery that the media had made, that it was accurate, and you guys have worked with me over my 9+ years. I like to be transparent. I don't want to hold information back from the public. I always say that. So I made that statement to make sure that especially our local media knew what was going on.
Regarding the 2020 election, the state senate is conducting some sort of elections probe where they've issued subpoenas, I guess to try to verify questions over election integrity. And you also had, on January 6th, you had senators and congressmen not accept the electors from Pennsylvania due to claims of fraud and impropriety. Do you have any insight as to whether there was any fraud or impropriety in 2020?
I do not. I don't have any insight as to whether or not there was any theft of the election. I do not. And what I tell people is we need to believe in the integrity of our election process. And as a country, we need to come together and we need to heal through all of this. So I don't know of any issues that may have arisen to create an idea of that. I wouldn't be privy to that information.
We may have asked this before. I mean, we know whoever wins these seats is going to family court. But down the road, obviously, these things change. Is there one area of the law that you feel best equipped or think would be a good fit for you down the line? Obviously, these are 10-year terms.
Right.
The winner won't be in family court forever.
I would enjoy working in any of the areas, civil, criminal, family. What I try to explain to people is they see me as district attorney because I was in the office for so long, and I do have extensive criminal experience because of that. But prior to becoming district attorney, I was in civil practice. I was working in insurance defense company, representing one of the largest insurance companies in the nation. And I really enjoyed that practice as well. I enjoyed working with the caseworkers. I enjoyed working with victims and other attorneys. And lawyers tend to laugh at me when I said I enjoyed depositions. I enjoyed coming to the table and asking questions and being in a room with other lawyers and conducting the appropriate procedures of civil law. And so I would enjoy any area that they would want me to, the president judge would want me to be in.
As DA, apart from prosecutions, part of your job was dealing with the county council and funding and budgets.
Yes.
That's something that faces the courts also,
Right.
in a kind of a different way. But I mean, what is your impression of that relationship between the county government on the one hand and the courts on the other, and can it be improved?
You know, I think that every division has its own positive and negative interactions with county council, but it's because of the fight we always have. It's a cordial fight, but battle for funding. And I think that it's obvious to everyone that most areas are very underfunded because we don't have the money coming in to be able to sustain certain jobs that we would want to have as district attorney. As you said, I was always fighting with council saying we need more. We need to be able to protect our residents, and that means through prosecutors, through detectives, and just being able to create different programs. And so I hope that, and I believe that everybody has a good relationship with county council, and there will always be times that we're really tugging back and forth, trying to find a balance as to where we can fall, that we all feel like we got a positive piece out of the budget. But at the end of the day, it's the president judge that works closely with the county council, and if they ever need any advice or guidance or anything from me through my experiences as district attorney and doing that on a regular basis, I am more than happy to assist.
Probably in your years as district attorney, there's been a kind of a trend toward diversionary programs, drug courts, veterans courts. How have you seen that develop in your office, and how do you view the current court's actions in that regard? Is it right? Should there be more of them? What's your take?
I think the courts, through my time as district attorney, I'll start with this. I worked very hard to expand our diversionary programs. I believe in diversionary programs, specialty court, which people call mental health court, drug court or treatment court. We have veterans court. We have in the district attorney's office, it's called the youth aid panel, which gives juveniles a second chance with low minor non-violent offenses. So we have a lot of those courts that we have expanded upon during my time. And really at the end, I expanded the mental health court, the specialty court, even further by offering and working with our Judge Sklarowski, and the whole team by offering an expungement or reduction in charges if individuals decide to go into mental health court or specialty court. We're trying to expand these courts because I believe that is our future, that we should be looking at different ways to keep people out of prison and put them into programs that better assist what they have been through and make them a more productive member of society when they are completed. Or they completed the program. We also, at the end of my term or tenure, I worked on what's called a wellness program. It's sort of like a treatment court for juveniles. We're trying to implement that with Judge Rogers and offering different opportunities for people that are going into the criminal justice system. So as you can see, the judges are working closely with us and trying, or I should say, working closely with the district attorney's office and me as district attorney at the time to expand these programs and to offer these benefits to our residents. And I also started a program, we call it the PAD program, the Pre-Arrest Diversionary Program, and that was started because of the increase in overdoses and introduction of fentanyl into our communities, trying to help individuals that have a problem and saying, you know what, you may have this problem, but we want to give you a second chance. We're not going to file charges if you complete this program. And there were many people during my time as district attorney that successfully completed and they never saw charges filed against them. So it doesn't cause future consequences, negative consequences to their lives. And so we were looking at so many different ways how we can help. And through that PAD program, I actually received the office and all that we did, law enforcement and the district attorney's office, national recognition for thinking outside the box. We need to start doing that. And that's what I did as district attorney and worked very closely with our judges in implementing those changes and improvements.
As you mentioned, you were district attorney for more than 9 years, but during that time, I don't think you really personally prosecuted many kids. I think Marcus Nolan was
Correct.
But he ended up pleading out.
Yes.
So what would you say to people that would argue that a judge needs to have more courtroom experience?
Well, as district attorney, every single day I was in the courthouse, I was in the courtrooms, I was working with our prosecutors making evidentiary charging decisions as well as administrative decisions that affected our communities every single day and our victims. I would sit down with our prosecutors and decide how best to move forward on certain cases, especially major cases in our community. I would be, as you guys know, I sometimes would be one of the first people on the scenes of major homicides or major cases. And I would be sitting down and working with law enforcement, working with the prosecutors, and deciding how to create the affidavit So I was behind the scenes working every day with our prosecutors, with our law enforcement, and that gave me so much experience as district attorney, and that experience I would then bring to the bench. I've been fortunate enough to see a different side than others have, because I have been on the front lines every day for 9+ years, working with not only law enforcement and our prosecutors, but our residents, our community groups, seeing the good and the bad and trying to correct things that may not have been very good decisions that have been made, and making them better for the community. I've worked with our judiciary in making a better system and trying to find a way to make our systems effective and efficient, so our community doesn't waste their time coming in and sitting around for jury selection and things of that nature. So I have so much experience in what I did, and that experience is far beyond just trying cases. It's making those decisions every single day, and it's those tough decisions, those decisions that, again, as I stated in the beginning, that I followed the law and made sure that I was making the decisions based on facts and evidence on all of these cases. So yeah, it's been amazing as district attorney, and I've been honored to serve as district attorney. And again, I just hope that through the experience that I've had and that I've seen the support that has come out from our community for me running for judge, that everybody will choose me as one of their next Court of Common Pleas judges.
So we talk a little bit about fundraising.
Yes.
Have you been actively fundraising during this campaign, and have you accepted contributions from lawyers, and how do you handle that if elected? Some attorney gave your campaign money and appears before you.
I have actively been fundraising. It's been a very different election year, as you guys can all imagine. With COVID, you have to be careful as to what you do at all times. The large groups are not appropriate because you want to protect the safety of everyone around you. So it's been difficult getting out and getting in with the community. It started up again more recently, but I think people are getting scared again because of the surge in cases, especially here in Luzerne County. So I think that our election this year is going to be mainly advertisements, marketing, to get your face out there, to introduce yourself to our residents, to the community. So I have been continuing to fundraise. I have received contributions from lawyers, but as I stated, I believe this was one of the questions from the first editorial board interview. I believe that all constituents should have the ability to support the judge that will be there for 10 years, if not longer. And lawyers are our residents as well. And they actually work closer with the judges because they are in front of them every day. And they want to see that they have a fair, impartial judge that they are able to work with, and someone who respects the positions that they have, no matter, there will always be adversarial positions, but that the judge is there to respect them. And so I will and have received donations from lawyers, but I do believe that it should be transparent. If a lawyer is in front of you, it is transparent, or should be transparent, that a donation was made and they supported me through the election.
How do you do that? Do you reveal that every time?
Yes.
To the opposing counsel?
Yes, I believe that if there is a lawyer that provided a large contribution to you, I think it is important to let people know in the courtroom who is in front of you that you did receive a contribution from them, and if they feel uncomfortable with that or feel that I can't be impartial, I would recuse myself. I want to make sure everybody knows that I will always be fair and impartial as a judge.
Do you think you have any advantage by having both party nominations for this election?
I feel that I have been supported by a lot of people because of having the double nominations. The Democrats and Republicans come out strong for me during the primary. But I don't take that for granted. I'm working like I am in last place and want to make sure that everybody knows that I take this race very seriously. This is an important job, and this is a person that our residents should look to and say they will be that individual, or those two individuals, since there are two seats, those individuals will be making decisions that could affect my life. And I want them to know that I take that very seriously. So although I did receive the double nomination in the primary, I'm working like I came in last place.